The secret the rich will never tell you is not hidden in a vault. It is hidden in plain sight, disguised in the way they think, the way they act, and the way they create opportunities that others walk past without noticing. From the time we are children, we are told that the pathway to success is to go to school, get good grades, find a job, and work hard for 40 years until one day we can retire with enough to survive. That message sounds noble, but it is not the truth that creates wealth. If hard work was the ultimate path to riches, then the hardest workers on earth, the laborers, the factory workers, the men and women who rise before dawn and toil until late at night, would be the wealthiest class. Yet they are not. The reason is that wealth is not built on hours worked. Wealth is built on the ability to create value and to leverage that value in ways that multiply results beyond the reach of any one person's time. The wealthy understand that time is the most limited resource, and because of that, they refuse to sell it cheaply. An employee exchanges hours for wages, but the wealthy exchange ideas, systems, and ownership for streams of income that continue whether they are present or not. This shift in thinking is one of the greatest secrets. Money is not simply earned, it is attracted. It flows towards value, towards solutions, towards innovation, towards leadership. And those who master the art of solving problems at scale find that wealth is magnetized towards them. Most people are trapped in the cycle of chasing money. They go to work to earn just enough to pay bills, buy comforts, and repeat the process next month. The rich reverse the equation. They don't chase money. They create environments where money chases them. How? By understanding leverage. Leverage is the force that allows one action to create multiple results. One decision to create exponential outcomes. The rich use financial leverage through investments, but beyond that, they use time leverage by building teams, skill leverage by hiring expertise, and relationship leverage by connecting with people who open doors to opportunities. In the average person's mind, working longer hours is the solution to financial struggles. In the wealthy person's mind, creating systems that work without them is the solution. A wealthy individual might invest in real estate, in businesses, in intellectual property, or in digital products that continue to generate income 24 hours a day. They look for ways to disconnect income from hours, because once income is tied to assets instead of time, growth becomes limitless. Society rarely teaches this because the system benefits from a majority who remain unaware of the rules. Schools are designed to produce employees who follow instructions, not innovators who rewrite the script. From the first day in the classroom, children are taught to memorize, repeat, and conform. They are graded on obedience to rules more than creativity of thought. This conditioning creates adults who believe safety lies in employment, in following a path that promises security yet delivers limitations. The wealthy quietly build outside that framework, often criticized at first for taking risks, but later admired for the results. The real secret is that the economy is structured like a ladder, and most people are content to remain climbing the rungs as workers. The wealthy, however, own the ladder. They understand ownership is the true source of wealth, whether it's owning businesses, owning assets, owning intellectual property, or owning distribution. Their wealth is built on control and equity. They are not limited by wages because they have built systems where they participate in profits. The rich also see opportunity where others see obstacles. Where the average person sees a problem, the wealthy see a chance to create a solution that others will pay for. They understand that the bigger the problem solved, the greater the wealth created. The fifth secret the rich will never tell you is that wealth is less about money itself and more about perspective, the way a person interprets the world and their place in it. The wealthy see opportunities where others see obstacles. They see potential where others see risk, and they see strategy where others see chaos. This perspective is not natural for most people. It is developed through intention, through conditioning their minds to look for advantage in every situation. The same event that discourages one person can inspire innovation in another, and this difference in perspective often explains why wealth seems to follow certain people again and again, regardless of circumstances. The rich understand that markets are never static, economies are never fixed, and industries are always shifting. Instead of fearing these changes, they anticipate them and position themselves in advance. They watch trends, they study patterns, they observe behaviors, and they look beyond the present moment into the possibilities of tomorrow. While others are surprised when disruptions occur, the wealthy are already prepared to capitalize. They profit during recessions by buying undervalued assets. They profit during booms by riding momentum, and they profit during transitions by being first to adapt. Their perspective is tuned to see movement as opportunity rather than threat. Another dimension of perspective is their relationship with control. Most people believe control lies outside themselves, in governments, employers, or luck. The wealthy believe control begins within. They focus on what they can influence, their decisions, their actions, their vision, their networks. By concentrating on controllable factors, they build momentum that eventually shapes the very circumstances others thought were beyond influence. This inner control gives them confidence, and that confidence translates into bold moves that create wealth. The rich also understand narrative. They know that people and money are both influenced by stories, and they master the art of shaping stories. A product is never just a product. It is a story about status, about identity, about possibility. An investment is never just numbers. It is a story about security, growth, and the future. By controlling narratives, the wealthy control perception, and perception drives value. A company with the right story can attract billions in investment, while one with no story struggles to survive. Storytelling becomes a financial skill. One of the reasons the wealthy hold perspective as their greatest asset is because perspective creates resilience. They will face the same failures, losses, and difficulties as everyone else, but their interpretation of those events changes the outcome. Where one person sees disaster, they see data. Where one person sees failure, they see feedback. Where one person sees finality, they see foundation. This ability to reframe setbacks ensures they continue moving forward while others remain paralyzed. Another layer of the secret is timing. The wealthy understand that money is not only about what to do, but also about when to do it. They are patient when patience is required, and they act swiftly when the window is narrow. They do not confuse activity with progress. They measure opportunities with precision and strike when the conditions align. This sense of timing comes from perspective, from studying cycles, from watching history repeat itself, and from recognizing signals that others ignore. The wealthy also perceive people differently. They do not see people only as competition. They see them as potential partners, collaborators, or allies. They believe that working with the right people multiplies outcomes far faster than working alone. This perspective makes them generous with opportunities, willing to share credit, and open to collaboration because they know that combined effort creates more wealth than isolated effort. They invest in relationships. The fourth secret the rich will never tell you is that money itself is not the end game. It is a language, a tool, and a reflection of how well someone understands the principles that govern it. For most people, money is emotional, tied to fear, survival, desire, or status. For the wealthy, money is neutral. It is a servant, not a master. They strip money of emotion and treat it as a system of exchange, a scorecard of value, and a resource to be multiplied. That simple difference in perception is one of the greatest dividing lines between those who struggle with money and those who command it with ease. The wealthy know that money is nothing more than energy that flows to the place of highest value. Wherever problems are solved, needs are met, or desires are fulfilled, money follows. They are not chasing paper bills, they are chasing the creation of value, because they understand that value magnetizes wealth. When they see opportunities, they do not ask if people will pay, they ask how much value can be created and how it can be delivered at scale. Once value is multiplied, money simply arrives as a byproduct. Another layer of this secret is that money never disappears, it only changes hands. Every transaction is a transfer of value, and the wealthy position themselves to be on the receiving side of that transfer. Instead of always being the customer or the consumer, they prefer to be the creator, the owner, or the investor. The poor and middle class spend the majority of their income on consumption, while the wealthy direct their money into vehicles that create more money. Ownership is the dividing line because the owner collects while the consumer spends. The rich understand the rules of money the way athletes understand the rules of their sport. They know how credit works, how debt can be used to accelerate growth, how taxation operates, how to legally structure their finances to reduce liability. They hire experts, but they also educate themselves so they cannot be misled. Ignorance is expensive and they refuse to pay that price. Meanwhile, many people avoid learning about money altogether, convinced it is too complex or boring, yet that avoidance costs them freedom. Another part of this secret is the ability to separate emotion from decision-making. When markets crash, when investments dip, when businesses hit turbulence, the average person panics and withdraws, locking in losses. The wealthy remain calm, analyze, and often double down, acquiring assets when they are undervalued. Because of this, crises that destroy the finances of the fearful often create fortunes for the bold. Emotional discipline becomes a financial weapon, allowing them to act logically when others react emotionally. The way the rich use debt exposes another truth rarely spoken. For most people, debt is destructive, used for cars, clothes, vacations, and things that depreciate. For the wealthy, debt is often a tool, borrowed to acquire assets that produce more income than the cost of borrowing. They understand leverage, and they let borrowed money work for them, multiplying returns that would not be possible otherwise. While the average person carries consumer debt that drains them, the rich carry strategic debt that enriches them. Cash flow is another key. The rich are less concerned with how much something costs than with how it flows. They buy assets not for vanity, but for their ability to produce steady streams of income. Rental properties, businesses, royalties, dividends, intellectual property, all are vehicles of cash flow. Cash flow means stability, predictability, and scalability. It means freedom from relying on a paycheck. The wealthy design their lives around cash flow, while others design their lives around salaries. Scarcity and abundance. Mace mindsets also play a major role. Many people see money as limited, a small pie to be divided. The rich see money as unlimited because new value can always be created. If they lose everything, The third secret the rich will never tell you is that wealth is not built in moments of luck or sudden breakthroughs, but in the unseen habits, the quiet disciplines, and the daily decisions that compound into extraordinary results. From the outside, people often imagine that a wealthy person became rich because of a single opportunity, a big deal, or an inheritance. But in reality, the vast majority of sustained wealth is the product of habits repeated over and over again until they create momentum too powerful to stop. Habits create direction, and direction creates destiny, which is why the wealthy are obsessed with mastering their routines and protecting their focus. The average person underestimates the power of habit. They may believe that small actions do not matter, that a single choice has no lasting consequence, but the wealthy know that every choice plants a seed, and every seed grows into either abundance or lack. Choosing to save, to invest, to learn, to build systems may seem minor in the moment, but over time those choices multiply. Similarly, choosing to spend impulsively, to procrastinate, to avoid risk, to neglect growth may not look destructive today, but in 10 years the cost becomes undeniable. The rich understand this invisible compounding of habits, and they live with intentionality because of it. One of the most critical habits the rich cultivate is financial awareness. They track where their money goes. They analyze cash flow. They study investments. They know the numbers of their businesses and their personal portfolios. They never surrender their financial awareness to others blindly because they understand that ignorance is the quickest path to poverty. While the average person avoids looking at bills or budgets out of fear, the wealthy face numbers with clarity because information is power. Another habit is decisiveness. Opportunities do not wait for endless debate, and the rich train themselves to evaluate quickly and act. They are not reckless, but they are not paralyzed by fear or indecision. They gather information, weigh the risks, and commit. This speed of decision gives them advantage because markets shift, trends move, and opportunities vanish for those who hesitate. Decisiveness becomes a wealth-building tool because it allows action when others are still doubting. The rich also cultivate the habit of consistency. They know that motivation is fleeting, but discipline lasts. They invest regularly, they learn continuously, they market persistently, they network consistently. Their progress is not measured in sudden leaps, but in steady steps. While the average person looks for shortcuts and overnight success, the wealthy build brick by brick, day by day, until their foundation is unshakable. Consistency may not look glamorous, but it compounds in ways nothing else can. Reading and learning form another non-negotiable habit. The wealthy do not stop educating themselves once formal schooling ends. They devour books, attend seminars, seek mentors, and surround themselves with thinkers who challenge their assumptions. They invest in learning about psychology, leadership, communication, finance, and innovation, because they know that every new piece of knowledge expands their ability to create and to compete. The poor consume entertainment for escape. The wealthy consume information for empowerment. The way the rich handle failure is also a habit that sets them apart. Where others see failure as final, they see it as feedback. Every setback becomes a lesson. Every mistake becomes data for the next attempt. They have trained themselves to bounce back quickly, to pivot instead of quit, to adjust instead of surrender. This resilience becomes habitual, so they do not waste time dwelling on what went wrong. They harvest the lesson and keep moving. Because of this habit, failure actually accelerates their success rather than slowing it down. The wealthy develop the habit of protecting their energy. Money has always been a subject wrapped in mystery for those who do not understand its nature, while for those who do, it becomes a predictable outcome of the way they think and act. The second secret the rich will never tell you is that wealth is not only about earning and investing, it is about transformation. The wealthy transform problems into opportunities, transform skills into assets, and transform time into freedom. While the majority of people are caught in the cycle of making money to spend it, the rich are absorbed in the cycle of multiplying money to keep it. That difference in behavior does not come from luck, but from the discipline of seeing every resource, every challenge, and every decision as a lever to greater outcomes. Most people are taught to look at money as something scarce, something that comes only with struggle and sacrifice. But the wealthy treat money as abundant energy that moves to those who provide service, creativity, and leadership. Instead of asking how much something costs, they ask what return it will create. Instead of asking how much they can save, they ask how much they can scale. Their focus is not preservation, but multiplication. This is why the same dollar in the hands of an average person disappears in consumption, but in the hands of the wealthy, it reproduces itself through investments, businesses, and assets. The mindset of transformation begins with how the wealthy see themselves. They do not view themselves as workers in the machine. They see themselves as designers of the machine. Where others see an impossible challenge, they ask how it can be turned into a system, a product, or a service that solves the problem for many people. That perspective gives them power because wealth is directly connected to problem solving on a large scale. The more lives you improve, the more wealth flows in your direction. Another layer of the secret lies in how the rich manage risk. To the average person, risk is something to avoid, something that threatens security. To the wealthy, risk is a tool, something to calculate, to understand, and to use strategically. They know that avoiding risk altogether guarantees a life of limitation, while managing risk wisely creates opportunities for growth. They diversify, they hedge, they use insurance, they study markets, but they do not hide from risk. They know that all great rewards come from stepping into places most people fear to go. Time plays an entirely different role in the lives of the wealthy. For the average worker, time is traded for money and therefore always feels scarce. For the wealthy, time is magnified by leverage. They delegate, they hire, they automate. They build teams and systems that extend their reach far beyond the capacity of a single individual. Their goal is not to work harder, but to multiply the output of their efforts by putting structures in place that keep